Welcome to Hometown Happenings. I'm here today at the 9/11 Never Forget Memorial, and I'm here with Randy from the New York Police or New York Fire Department.
New York City Fire Department, yes.
And you're here in Detroit Lakes with this museum, this mobile unit exhibit based on the 9/11 events. And what can you tell us about the organization, the foundation that brought this here?
Well, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was done by the Stephen Siller Foundation. Stephen Siller was a firefighter that ran through the tunnel on September 11th with his full bunker gear. And foundation has, from 2002 to 2010, they helped a lot of causes out. And about 6 or 7 years ago, they started building homes for America's bravest. And right now we're in the middle of building homes for triple and quadruple amputees. So each home cost about $500,000. So we try to raise as much money as we possibly can through the foundation to do this. And they have races. They sponsored 35 races this year. Will be across the United States and into Europe. They have 47 homes that have been completed at the cost of about $500,000 a home. So this year, I think they plan on completing about 12 homes, and they have a target goal of 200 homes for veterans that come home with amputations.
And what can you tell us about who it's named after?
Well, it's named after Stephen Siller. Right. The Tunnel to Towers, it's because Stephen ran from Brooklyn. On that day, Stephen wasn't working that day. He went and retrieved his gear after the towers were hit, and after the first tower was hit. He had no transportation. There was no cars. They weren't allowing any cars to go through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel at the time. So with his full bunker gear, he ran through the tunnel, which is about 2.5 miles long. And when he got to the other side, he proceeded to help in the rescue efforts. Now, a lot of people talk about a lot of guys that died that day, but 25,000 people, or over 25,000 people, were evacuated from that building that day. So the tragedy is there, but it could have been much worse if it wasn't for the efforts of the fire department, the police department, and the Port Authority Police Department, as well as EMS workers. But Stephen was, he was head and shoulders. He was right with everybody else. I mean, he was a really great guy, a go-getter. His family is, extremely proud of him. If people come through the exhibit, the second part talks about everything that has happened from his passing till up to now.
Did you know him personally?
I did not. Unfortunately, I did not. We have over 10,000 firemen in New York. So it's pretty tough to know a lot. All the guys. As firemen, we probably know thousands of guys from faces. And when you're a New York City fireman, you don't just work in your firehouse. You get detailed across. You could work in any borough on any given day. So, Stephen had many friends, as, all New York City firemen do. We're all brothers, and when we get out of the area, coming to a place like Detroit Lakes, it's no different than being in New York. The firemen here are, they may not be paid, but they have the same heart, they have the same dedication, and, they care about people. And that's what Stephen was all about. He was all about caring about people and helping his brothers. Whether it was going to somebody's house and painting it for them, or, watching their back at a job, a fire.
So you're traveling around the country and into Canada with this exhibit, and what is included in this exhibit?
Well, this exhibit is, all the firemen that do it, we're all volunteers. We have about 30 guys that actually travel with the exhibit. So every weekend when it's somewhere else, it's a different set of guys. This is the second time that I'm doing it since I retired in January. But the exhibit just lets you touch something that maybe a lot of people won't be able to touch. They get a chance to see, part of the World Trade Center, and maybe some things that it's difficult to put into words. What it means to me personally, it's a tremendous form of therapy. I get to come here. I had a very difficult time dealing with it. I lost quite a few friends that day. So I have a hard time putting things into words sometimes. not very linguistic.
You're doing a good job right now. So, Randy, do the artifacts, do they change out? Are they donated by families, or where do the artifacts go?
Well, most of the artifacts come from firehouses that they were retrieved after the event. So after they were, digging through it for a couple of years, they just picked out certain things, and certain firehouses donate items to the exhibit, and then after a period of time, they'll take their artifact back, and other firehouses will give their artifacts to us. Some of the things that are here have been with the exhibit, for an extension of time, from the beginning, I believe. I'm basically a liaison for it. I help out with, doing things like this. This is my little piece that I can do. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. A good note that from what I understand, about 90% of every dollar that we raise goes to building the homes for America's Bravest. It's done on a very heavy volunteer basis, so a small percent goes into the foundation to run it.
Well, it's a very neat thing to have it come to Detroit Lakes, a smaller community. I mean,
Yes.
the communities that this goes to, are they bigger community? I know you're going to Winnipeg and you were in Illinois, between the two.
Yes. Well, the first time I did it was in September. We went to West Virginia. It was a town, Spencer, West Virginia. It was a town of 8,500. They had their Black Walnut Festival at the time, and the town drew about 50,000 people. The exhibit was overwhelmed at certain periods. We had so many people on. The other fireman that I was with, we couldn't even take a break to get a drink of water. So most of the times they think it's basically like Detroit. They saw it going through Detroit Lakes, and Todd reached out and he made it happen. And that's what it basically is. It's about small communities that reach out and they want the exhibit to come to them. And small town, big town, we'll go, wherever it is. I know Mike was down in Nashville, Tennessee, which is, it's a fairly large city down there. I'm not sure where they're going to in Canada. Somebody else will be picking up the ball on that one.
All right, yeah, and it's impressive to see all the people lining up, and I know that a lot of young kids. I was talking to a youngster yesterday, born in 2003, and said, "Oh, we learned about 9/11 in class," and now they'll come down and see this.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have what we have, because of people that weren't even around. They just heard some stories about it, and they'll be able to come out to the exhibit and walk up to some real live New York City firemen and maybe get a little piece of information from us, touch us, and we'll hopefully touch somebody else as well,
How long have you been a fireman? You're retired now.
I was 22 years.
Well, thanks for your service, and welcome to Detroit Lakes, and thanks for bringing this to our community.
Oh, it's our pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having us.
Randy, thank you so much, and that's TV3, Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy.
Quarter to 9, 8:46, the North Tower was struck. Now, if you recall, there were 4 planes. Each of them were jetliners that were going coast to coast. Terrorists picked out the biggest planes that held the most jet fuel. They wanted to create the biggest impact. The chief instantly sees it happen, transmit a third alarm on arrival. He says, right after that, he says, notify the FBI, it's a terrorist attack. He knew right away this was no accident. Like I said, beautiful day. How could you not see 110-story building? 903, South Tower was hit. Now this guy came in low, and he canted the wings on his plane. He came in the 70 to 76th floor. So now there was more fire and weight and stories above. So even though the South Tower was hit second, it was the first one to collapse. Then the third plane, if you know, struck the Pentagon. So now it wasn't just a New York City attack, now it was a national attack. And the fourth plane is the one that the brave passengers on board tried to take command from the terrorist pilot, and it aircraft in Field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. But the buses were just starting to wind down, so we went out and we flagged down a New York City bus full of passengers. So normally if you tell people on a city bus, everybody out, after they pay the $2.50 fare, New Yorkers are not going to be very happy. But they knew what was going on. They understood. They gave us all zero fine, be careful. Well, it was like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. This bus driver had that bus floored. We're weaving in and out of traffic. We get on the East Side Drive. We get down. Every time we hit a police roadblock, we put our helmets out the window so they wouldn't shoot out the tires. Then we got down there. When we got down there, it was like a science fiction movie. The two twin towers, this is what we saw. The skeletal steel, that's the aluminum facade. We saw that sticking out of two big 10-story anthills. So 110 stories were reduced to about 10 stories. The other buildings were on fire. Remember, the 5 other buildings on the site, they were all on fire.